A woman standing in the kitchen of a waterfront mansion in North Palm Beach, Florida. The kind of house that whispers money without ever shouting it. She's rebuilt this life brick by brick, year by year, with her own hands and her own choices. 2 kids. A psychology degree from Rollins College, earned quietly without fanfare. A new man she actually trusts. Peace. Real peace. The kind you only understand after you've lost everything you thought was real. Then her phone buzzes. She picks it up, reads the headline, and somewhere in the silence of that perfect kitchen, in that carefully reconstructed life, a single expression crosses her face that no camera captured, but everyone who knows her story can imagine with absolute clarity. Seriously? A Trump? Because Tiger Woods, the man who broke her heart in the most public, humiliating, globally witnessed way imaginable, Tiger Woods is reportedly in a relationship with Haley Gone, a woman connected to one of the most polarizing political dynasties on the planet. A $60 million love story, the tabloids are screaming. And somewhere between the golf courses and the gated estates, between the green jackets and the ghost of a marriage that once felt unbreakable, a story is unfolding that is stranger, messier, and more deeply human than any of us expected. This is not just a story about Tiger Woods. This is a story about what happens after. After the betrayal. After the cameras leave. After you rebuild. And then the world drops something new on your doorstep and dares you to react. Stay with me, because this story goes so much deeper than the headlines. If you've ever watched someone you cared about move on and felt that complicated mix of relief and disbelief, drop something in the comments. You don't have to explain it. Just let it sit there. Because you're not alone. Let's go back. Way back. Because to understand why Ellen's reported reaction hit people so hard, you have to understand where she started. It is 2001. Elin Nordegren is a 21-year-old Swedish au pair, working for golfer Jesper Parnevik and his family. She is not famous. She is not wealthy. She is beautiful in that quiet, unassuming way that doesn't need a room to notice it. And at a tournament in Britain, Jesper introduces her to Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods in 2001 is not just a golfer. He is a phenomenon. He has already won 4 major championships. He is already rewriting what athletic greatness looks like. He is young, magnetic, relentlessly focused. And when he meets Ellen, something shifts. He pursues her. She resists initially. She is not swept off her feet on day 1. But persistence has a way of wearing down walls, and by 2004, they are married in a private ceremony in Barbados. The world looks at this couple and sees a fairy tale. The greatest golfer alive and his stunning Swedish wife. Houses in Florida. Tournaments won. A daughter, Sam, born in 2007. A son, Charlie, born in 2009. From the outside, it is perfection defined. But here's what nobody outside those walls knew. Or maybe what some people chose not to look at too hard. November 25, 2009. The day after Thanksgiving. 2:25 in the morning. Tiger Woods drives his Cadillac Escalade out of his driveway in Windermere, Florida, and crashes it into a fire hydrant, then a tree, less than 300 feet from his own home. Ellen rushes out. She reportedly smashes the rear window with a golf club. She would later say to rescue him. Neighbors call 911, and just like that, the curtain tears. Within days, a name surfaces, then another, then another. The number climbs 5, 10. Eventually over a dozen women would be reported in various media outlets as alleged affairs during Tiger's marriage. Rachel Uckadel, Jamie Grubbs. The names keep coming. And with every new headline, Elin Nordegren sits somewhere inside her perfect house and watches her entire understanding of the last 8 years dissolve. What does that feel like? To discover that the life you thought was real was being lived on a stage you didn't know existed? People who know Ellen describe her as intensely private, composed under pressure, and ferociously protective of her children. She doesn't perform grief. She processes it. And in the months that follow, she processes an almost incomprehensible amount of it. By August 2010, the divorce is finalized. Tiger pays her a reported $110 million settlement. And Ellen takes the money, takes the kids, and begins the long, quiet, methodical work of building a life that is actually hers. There's something about watching someone refuse to collapse after they've been broken that just hits differently. If that kind of quiet strength resonates with you, this story deserves your attention right now. Here's what most people miss about Elin's chapter after Tiger. She doesn't become a cautionary tale. She doesn't sell her story to tabloids. She doesn't go on talk shows and cry on cue for ratings. Instead, she enrolls at Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida, and studies psychology because she wants to understand people. She wants to understand, perhaps, how the man she loved was capable of leading such a double life. She wants to understand herself, her choices, her blind spots. She graduates in 2014 with honors. She builds a $12 million home in North Palm Beach. She is involved in the design herself, tearing down a previous structure to build something that is entirely her vision. Something that has never held anyone else's story but her own. She starts dating again carefully, quietly. Chris turns, a coal executive. They have a son together in 2019, a child the press barely gets a photograph of because Elin guards that privacy like a lioness. She and Chris reportedly part ways, and Elin continues forward. Not bitter, not broken, just moving, always moving. By any honest measure, Elin Nordegren is one of the most composed, quietly remarkable comeback stories in modern celebrity history. She didn't write a memoir about it. She just lived it. And then comes 2023, and Tiger's world shifts again. Let's talk about Erica Herman, because this chapter matters. Erica Herman was Tiger's girlfriend for 6 years. She was not a household name when they started dating. She managed one of his restaurants in Florida. But over time, she became a constant presence at his side. Tournaments, recoveries, the brutal car accident in February 2021 that shattered Tiger's leg and nearly ended his career. She was there. And then in 2023, she filed a lawsuit against Tiger, attempting to void a non-disclosure agreement she claimed was obtained under duress. She alleged she was removed from Tiger's home by his representatives. The legal filings painted a picture of a relationship that ended not with a conversation but with what she described as being essentially displaced. Tiger's team denied the characterizations. The legal battles continued. But here's what that entire episode did. It reminded the world, again, that Tiger Woods' personal life is never simple. It is never clean. There is always another layer. Erica and Tiger eventually settled. The terms were not disclosed. And then the world starts whispering about someone new. Who do you think is actually the most complicated person in this entire story? Drop their name in the comments. The answer might not be who you expect. The name that starts appearing in gossip circles and then in more credible outlets is one that carries an almost theatrical weight in 2024 America. The connection to the Trump family. Now, and this matters, so stay with me. The precise nature and confirmed details of Tiger's new relationship are still emerging as of this story, and we want to be responsible about what is reported versus what is confirmed. What is documented is this. Tiger Woods has been seen with a woman whose family connections to the Trump political universe have sent the celebrity press into overdrive. The reported figure of $60 million attached to some aspect of this story, whether a prenuptial discussion, a property, or the broader financial framing of the relationship, has fueled the narrative engine considerably. What we know for certain is that Tiger's love life post-Erica has landed in territory that is politically and culturally charged in a way that his previous relationships never were. And for Elin Nordegren, a Swedish woman who came to America with no political agenda, who rebuilt her life with studied, deliberate care, who has reportedly never engaged in public political discourse, the idea of her children's father being romantically entangled with a name synonymous with one of the most divisive political movements in modern American history is, by any reasonable interpretation, a lot to absorb. Seriously? A Trump? Whether she said those exact words, whether that was a direct quote or a paraphrased reaction from someone in her circle, what we can say is this. The sentiment, as reported, feels completely human. It feels like the reaction of a woman who has already survived one tidal wave and is now watching another one form on the horizon. Except this time, it's not her wave to survive. It's just there, in her children's world, in her orbit. And that, right there, is the part that people who have shared custody and complicated co-parenting situations understand in their bones. Let's pause here, because this story is really about something that doesn't have a clean narrative shape. It's about the strange experience of watching someone who hurt you move on, and not just move on, but move on into something that feels almost designed to be complicated. Something that pulls the world's gaze back toward a story you have spent years trying to make quiet. Elin has built a life that is, by design, low volume. Private schools, guarded social media, a psychology career path, children who are not Instagram props, and Tiger, through no apparent deliberate intent to disturb her peace, but through the sheer gravitational force of being Tiger Woods, keeps generating noise that inevitably echoes into her world. Because they share two children. Sam, now 17. Charlie, now 15. These are not small children anymore. They are teenagers with their own awareness, their own ability to read a headline, their own feelings about what their father's life looks like. And whatever Elin said or didn't say, whatever expression crossed her face when she read those headlines, the real weight isn't the gossip. The real weight is the question every co-parent in complicated situations knows too well. How do I protect my kids from the noise without pretending the noise doesn't exist? If you've ever had to navigate something messy for the sake of children caught in the middle, this moment right here is for you. This story sees that. Let's talk about Tiger for a moment, because this documentary would be incomplete without attempting to understand him with some genuine complexity. Tiger Eldrick Woods was born December 30th, 1975, to Earl and Cultida Woods. Earl was a Vietnam veteran and amateur golfer who began training his son when Tiger was barely old enough to hold a club. The footage of a tiny Tiger on the Mike Douglas show, sinking putts at age 2, is the stuff of legend. By 15, he was the youngest U.S. junior amateur champion in history. By 21, he turned professional and won the Masters by 12 strokes. 12 strokes. In his first major as a professional. The pressure that created that kind of greatness also, perhaps, created the compartmentalization that would eventually destroy his marriage. When you have spent your entire life being told that the goal, the perfect shot, the perfect score, the perfect performance, justifies everything else, what does that do to your understanding of personal life? Of loyalty? Of consequence? This is not an excuse. It is an attempt at understanding. Because the same mind that could tune out an entire stadium of noise to sink a 10-foot putt on Sunday at Augusta also, apparently, learned to compartmentalize in ways that left Elin devastated and the world stunned. The scandal cost Tiger more than his marriage. Cost him sponsors. Cost him his ranking. He fell from world number 1 to outside the top 50. He underwent multiple back surgeries. He struggled publicly with the dissolution of his personal identity, because for Tiger Woods, golf and self were always the same thing. Remove the perfect image and what remains? He spent years finding out. The 2021 car accident was, by any medical assessment, catastrophic. His right leg was so severely injured that doctors considered amputation. He underwent multiple surgeries. He was told his career was likely over. He came back. He always comes back. That's the Tiger Woods story in miniature, the fall, the silence, the return. It applies to his golf career. It apparently applies to his personal life too. And in some strange, complicated way, even people who have every reason to dismiss Tiger Woods, people like Elin arguably, cannot entirely divorce themselves from the grudging acknowledgement that this man's refusal to stay down is almost superhuman. Almost. Because Elin's refusal to stay down is equally remarkable. Just quieter. Just less celebrated, just less documented, which tells you something interesting about whose resilience our culture decides to make into mythology. The world built statues for his comeback. Her comeback happened in a classroom, in a courtroom, in a kitchen in North Palm Beach. Which one takes more courage? Think about that. Now let's bring this back to the present. To the $60 million love story. To the Trump connection. To the question of what all of this means. Not just for the gossip cycle, but for the actual human beings at the center of it. Tiger Woods, as of 2024, is worth an estimated $1.1 billion. He is the first athlete in history to reach billionaire status through sport and its associated business ventures. TGR Ventures, his design and development company. TGR Foundation, supporting youth education. Sunday Red. His new apparel brand with TaylorMade after his long partnership with Nike ended. He is not a man who lacks resources. He is not a man who lacks options. So when he chooses to be with someone, anyone, in this chapter of his life, he is making a deliberate choice. A conscious step, which makes the choice, whoever she is, whomever she's connected to, a statement of sorts. A declaration of the direction he wants his next chapter to move. And if that direction is politically adjacent to a family as divisive and lightning rod level famous as the Trumps, well, the world is going to have opinions. Loudly. Immediately. And those opinions are going to find their way into every news feed, every family dinner conversation, every co-parenting text thread. Because that's the world we live in now. There is no neutral zone. There is no off-the-grid choice that stays off the grid. Here's the part of the story that I think deserves the most honest examination. Elin Nordegren has spent 15 years building distance from the Tiger Woods narrative. Carefully, deliberately, successfully. She has been, by almost any measure, one of the most successful exits from a high-profile celebrity disaster in modern history. She didn't write a book. She didn't become a reality television cautionary tale. She became a psychologist. She became a mother. She became, quietly, herself. And yet the story keeps pulling her back in. Not because she invites it. Not because she wants it. But because the world cannot stop being fascinated by the marriage that ended, the woman who survived it, and the man who caused it. Every time Tiger makes headlines, the accident, the lawsuit with Herman, the new relationship, Ellen's name resurfaces. Her reaction becomes the story. Her response becomes the headline. Even her silence becomes content. And there's something quietly unfair about that. Something worth naming. She did the work. She got the degree. She built the house. She raised the kids. She moved on. And the world's fascination with Tiger means she can never fully move on. Not in the public's imagination. She will always, in some headline somewhere, be Tiger's ex-wife first. Everything she has built comes after that hyphen. If that makes something tighten in your chest, that's empathy. Hold on to it. Because she deserves it. Let's talk about what the kids see. Because ultimately, Sam and Charlie are the two people in this entire story who had absolutely no say in any of it and carry all of the weight. Sam Alexis Woods was born in 2007. She was 2 years old when the scandal broke. She grew up with the internet's version of her parents' story being available to anyone with a Wi-Fi connection. She has watched her father make comeback after comeback. She has watched her mother rebuild with extraordinary grace. She is 17 now, and by all accounts, she is a young woman of remarkable poise. Charlie Axel Woods was born in 2009, the same year the scandal erupted. He literally entered the world into the noise. And yet the video footage that exists of Charlie playing golf alongside his father shows a young man who has his dad's focus, his dad's mechanics, and, hopefully, a chance to write his own story. Both children are with Ellen primarily. Both children have a relationship with Tiger. And whatever tension, whatever complication, whatever political or social or personal weight comes with Tiger's new chapter, it lands in their world too. Not heavily, hopefully. Not in ways that break things. But it lands. Because that's the truth of co-parenting after catastrophe. You never fully leave the other person's story. Your children are living proof of that. Every parent who has ever tried to shield their child from something they couldn't fully control, this part of the story belongs to you. So where does this all leave us? Tiger Woods is reportedly in love. Or at minimum, in a high-profile relationship that the world has immediately politicized, dramatized, and monetized. He is 50 years old. He has rebuilt his body after injuries that would have permanently ended most people. He is still, when healthy, one of the most compelling athletes on a golf course that the sport has ever produced. He is a billionaire. He is a father. He is a complicated man who has done great damage and also great good, sometimes simultaneously. Elin Nordegren is, by all accounts, thriving. She is in her 40s. She has her degree. She has her home. She has her children. She has her peace. The real kind. The kind you cannot buy. The kind that only arrives after you've decided that your own story matters more than anyone else's narrative about you. And somewhere in the overlap of their worlds, in school pickup lines and holiday schedules and the quiet negotiations of two people who once shared a life and now share children, there is an ongoing, undramatic, deeply human story that no headline will ever fully capture. The world wants Ellen's reaction to be a soundbite. Seriously? A Trump? Clean, punchy, shareable, dramatic. But Elin Nordegren is not a soundbite. She never was. She was a 21-year-old au pair who fell in love with a man who turned out to be living two lives. She survived the public implosion of everything she thought was real. She rebuilt quietly and completely on her own terms. Whatever she thinks about Tiger's new love story, if she thinks about it at all, which she is entirely entitled not to, it is hers. Private. Personal. Not for the internet. Not for the headlines. Not for us. And maybe that's the most Tiger's ex-wife thing she could possibly do. Refuse to perform the reaction the world is desperate to see. The people who survive the loudest betrayals often do it in the quietest ways. If this story reminded you of someone or of yourself, then you already understand why it matters. Here's what I want to leave you with. We consume stories like this because they feel safely distant. The rich and famous, the golf courses and the mansions, the billion-dollar settlements. It all feels like a different universe. But the emotional architecture of this story is universal. The discovery of a double life. The decision to rebuild. The complicated experience of watching someone who hurt you move on. Move on into something new, something that generates more noise, more headlines, more of the thing you've been trying to protect your children from. The specific details are Tiger's and Ellen's. But the feelings? Those belong to anyone who has ever loved someone fully, been broken by that person's choices, and then had to figure out how to keep living in the same world as them. That's not a celebrity story. That's a human story. And the reason channels like this one exist, the reason we sit with complicated, layered, emotional narratives instead of just listing facts, is because we believe that understanding other people's stories makes us better at understanding our own. If you believe that too, if you think the full picture of someone's life matters more than a 15-second reaction clip, if you want to be the kind of person who sees people, actually sees them, not just their headlines, then you already know why you're here. And you already know why you'll be back. This isn't just a channel about celebrities. It's a channel about what it means to be human in a world that reduces everyone to a headline. If that's the kind of storytelling you want more of, you know what to do. Tiger Woods will tee off again. Somewhere. Eventually. He always does. Elin Nordegren will wake up tomorrow in the house she built, with the children she is raising, in the life she chose for herself. And somewhere between the $60 million love story and the seriously, a Trump headline, between the roar of Augusta and the quiet of a North Palm Beach kitchen. Two people who once stood at an altar in Barbados are living proof that the most interesting chapters of a life are almost never the ones the world writes for you. They are the ones you write for yourself. In the silence, after the noise, when nobody's watching.